Imagine this scene for a moment. You wake up at dawn, the dew is still covering your pasture, you walk toward the pens with your cup of coffee, and suddenly, a chill runs down your spine. It's pitch black and quiet, but it's not a peaceful silence. It's the silence left behind by a nighttime attack. The wire is busted, feathers are scattered, or worse, one of your best breeding stock is missing. That knot in your stomach, that feeling of helplessness and financial loss, is the biggest fear of any homesteader or farmer. Whether you raise poultry or high-value livestock genetics, predators are a constant and silent threat. Coyotes, feral dog packs, foxes, or bobcats never take a day off. But what if you could sleep soundly, knowing you have a biological security team patrolling your land? Today, we are going to put 3 of the most famous rural guardians head-to-head. The loud aerial radar, the relentless aquatic patrol, and the heavyweight misunderstood bodyguard. 3 options, 3 layers of defense, but only one can be the undisputed champion against the worst threats. Which of them will be the perfect shield for your farm? Let's get started. To understand how to protect our investment, we first need to realize that farm security is not a one-size-fits-all concept, but a layered security system, and each guardian animal has a very specific job profile. When we talk about protecting our hard work, every detail counts, and choosing the right guardian can mean the difference between turning a profit and the total failure of a season. Let's think about the operating cost of raising an animal from the day it's born until it reaches its prime. Losing it to an attack isn't just losing the animal itself, it's losing months of hard work, feed costs, and carefully selected genetics. That's why we're going to start by analyzing the first line of defense, the most sensitive alarm system nature has ever created, the guinea fowl. These birds, originally from the African plains, have evolved to be in a perpetual state of high alert. Their peripheral vision is extraordinary, and they have a unique ability to detect subtle movements both on the ground and up in the sky. If a hawk is circling hundreds of feet above, or if a snake is slithering silently through the brush near your quail or chicken coops, the guineas will be the very first to notice. And when they do, they unleash an auditory chaos that is impossible to ignore. Their vocalization is sharp, shrill, and incredibly persistent. As an early deterrence tool, they are fantastic because many small predators prefer to hunt in total silence, and upon being exposed by the racket of these birds, they decide to abort the mission so they don't draw attention to themselves. However, we need to look at the cold, hard facts regarding the role of each animal in our farming operation. Guinea fowl are, strictly speaking, an early warning system. They are the radar, the siren, the flashing red light of your homestead, but they absolutely lack the ability to neutralize a real physical threat. You cannot ask a bird of this size and fragility to defend your chicks or keets by going toe-to-toe against a predator. If a hungry and determined feral dog manages to breach the perimeter of your pens, the guinea fowl will instantly panic, fly up into the highest tree branches to save their own lives, and leave your ground-dwelling animals completely at the mercy of the attacker. They will have warned you that a serious problem is happening outside, yes, but they won't do a single thing to solve it. They are excellent for early warning, but entirely insufficient when brute force is required to stop a massacre. Moving up a vital rung on our security ladder, we find the undisputed guardian of enclosed areas and ponds, the goose. Many of you who are familiar with raising commercial poultry know perfectly well that a goose is not just a big duck. It's an animal with a deeply territorial, proud, and outright aggressive disposition. Since the days of the Roman Empire, geese have been used as effective watchdogs for one simple reason: they are not afraid of an initial confrontation. They are highly observant creatures that memorize the daily routine of your farm down to the letter. Any slight alteration in that usual pattern, whether it's an unknown animal or a strange shadow, is reason enough for them to go into high alert and begin their defensive protocol. Unlike guineas, which sound the alarm and flee, a goose sounds the alarm and charges straight at the danger. When an intruder crosses its invisible line of tolerance, the goose lowers its neck close to the ground, spreads its massive wings to appear twice its actual size, emits a threatening hiss, and attacks directly, looking to bite hard and strike with the heavy joints of its wings. This belligerent attitude is wonderfully effective at keeping small to medium-sized predators at bay. An inexperienced young fox, a hungry weasel, or a curious stray dog that gets too close to the henhouses will think twice before facing off against an enraged goose. Plus, their alarm call is much deeper and resonant, indicating a more direct physical threat level. But, as livestock breeders, we have to be realistic about the physical limitations of our animal crew. The goose is, at its core, a guardian of visual intimidation and territorial harassment, not a heavyweight fighter capable of surviving a lethal assault. If the intruder isn't intimidated by the aggressive hissing and flapping, the goose is in serious trouble. Against a coordinated pack of wild dogs, a large adult coyote, or a bobcat, the goose quickly goes from being the fierce guardian to being the easiest item on the menu. Its instinctive bravery far exceeds its physical size. It's an excellent protector for a poultry run, but if we're talking about protecting a flock that represents thousands of dollars invested in genetics and feed, we need something much more substantial, designed for a physical brawl. And this is exactly where our main character steps in, the misunderstood hero of the modern farm, the most unfairly underestimated animal in the entire history of agriculture, the livestock guardian donkey. For generations, popular culture and myths have created a deeply inaccurate image of the donkey. They've been repeatedly painted as stubborn, slow, clumsy, and unintelligent animals. We've been led to believe that they are only good for carrying dead weight, ignoring the tremendous sophistication of their survival instinct and their undeniable analytical problem-solving skills. But when you stop to analyze their biology, evolution, and natural instincts, you quickly realize that this supposed legendary stubbornness is, in fact, a highly refined survival instinct. The donkey is an extremely calculating animal. Unlike the horse, which evolved on open plains where its first biological response to danger is to run at top speed without looking back, the donkey evolved in harsh, rocky, and steep desert terrains. In that hostile environment, running blindly in a panic means tripping, falling off a cliff, and dying. Therefore, the donkey developed a brilliant brain that coldly evaluates risks before taking a single step. If a donkey plants its hooves and refuses to move, it's not being stubborn just to annoy you. It is meticulously calculating the situation, looking for the best escape route, or mentally and physically preparing for a direct confrontation. And it is precisely this incredible analytical ability that makes it an exceptional, elite livestock guardian. The true operational magic happens when we integrate a donkey with our larger livestock and witness its adaptation. Imagine for a moment that you have a flock of purebred Dorper sheep or a valuable herd of Boer goats grazing peacefully in your pastures. These animals are the financial core of your farming operation, and by evolutionary nature, they are highly vulnerable prey to wild predators. If you introduce a donkey into this grazing environment, something fascinating happens at the level of animal behavior and social structure. The donkey doesn't guard them because it has some maternal instinct toward the sheep. It guards them because it is an immensely territorial and possessive animal. Once it gets accustomed to its herd and firmly establishes that the fenced pasture is its only home and those little woolly ruminants are its exclusive pasture mates, the donkey will draw an invisible line of defense in the dirt. Any uninvited intruder, especially those belonging to the canine family, will be seen not just as a passing nuisance, but as a direct mortal enemy that must be eliminated from its territory at all costs. It will absolutely not tolerate anything breaking the peace of its newly acquired living space, and that highly focused territorial aggression is exactly the tool you need working in your favor day and night. When a cunning coyote or a dangerous feral dog crosses the boundary into the pasture, the donkey doesn't flee in terror looking for high branches like the Guinea Fowl, nor does it just stand there hissing uselessly like the goose. The donkey automatically enters a lethal combat mode. Its instinctive, irrational hatred for wild canines has been deeply hardwired into its DNA for thousands of years. And when it decides to go on the offensive, it stops being that docile farmyard pet and becomes a relentless force of nature, highly focused on annihilating the threat. It relies on an anatomical arsenal specifically designed to inflict real, devastating physical damage. Its excellent peripheral vision allows it to accurately track the predator's movements with barely a turn of its heavy head, and its long ears act as powerful directional satellite dishes picking up the faintest rustle of leaves in the dark brush. A charging donkey will use its hard front hooves to strike with the tremendous force of a sledgehammer. It will ruthlessly trample the attacker into the hard dirt, dropping its entire muscular body weight, and it will use its massive, powerful jaws to bite down without letting go, grabbing the predator by the neck or back and violently shaking it from side to side. These confrontations often end with lethal consequences for the invading canine. It's not just a defensive posture, it's a raw display of absolute physical dominance. In terms of pure agribusiness and profitability, the huge advantages of using a donkey as your primary guardian are practically unbeatable compared to other options. Think about the daily economics and logistics of your farm. If you choose to go the route of livestock guardian dogs like the imposing Anatolian Shepherd or the majestic Great Pyrenees, you are acquiring a fantastic working animal, no doubt, but one that requires a colossal investment. It needs specialized, constant training from the time it's a puppy so it doesn't harm the livestock, plus a specific high-quality protein diet that represents a very significant fixed monthly expense, along with specialized vet care. On top of that, dogs have a frustrating natural tendency to roam outside the property lines if your fences aren't absolutely perfect, which causes constant conflicts with neighbors or exposes them to being hit by cars on nearby county roads. In direct contrast, the donkey represents the ultimate paradigm of economic efficiency, passive profitability, and hardiness out in the field. It eats exactly the same forage, hay bale, or natural pasture grass that your valuable sheep and goats are already consuming, without requiring any special diets. It gets its supplements by sharing the exact same mineral salt blocks as the rest of the herd. It requires absolutely no complex obedience training or voice commands to awaken its lethal territorial instinct. It simply needs to be introduced gradually and correctly to the flock so it can form its bond. Generally, the golden rule in livestock management is to have only one single donkey per herd, never two or more together. And the reason for this is based on pure animal psychology. If you put two donkeys together in the same pasture, they will instantly bond emotionally with each other, completely ignoring the sheep, and in the event of serious danger, they will protect each other and leave the flock completely exposed to a slaughter. But a lone donkey, desperately seeking vital companionship and a stable social structure, will integrate deeply with your livestock, becoming the respected alpha of the pasture, assuming without hesitation the massive responsibility of keeping the entire area clear of any threats. Finally, we cannot overlook the incredibly important factor of strategic silence, which is another wonderful trait that definitively crowns it the undisputed king of this matchup. As an experienced breeder, you know very well that alarm fatigue is a real and exhausting psychological problem. If you have dozens of guinea fowl roaming around, you quickly get used to them shrieking hysterically at all hours for reasons as trivial as a dry leaf falling from an oak tree, a strong gust of wind, or a tractor passing miles away in the distance. It reaches a critical point where your brain completely tunes them out, which defeats their entire purpose. Geese can also get quite loud and obnoxious over very minor visual stimuli. But the donkey is a completely different professional in this regard. It is a serene and silent watcher, patiently observing everything from a distance, quietly chewing its mouthful of grass, but always keeping one ear firmly tuned to the horizon. If you ever hear a donkey braying at the top of its lungs in the pitch black of night, immediately followed by the heavy thud of hooves galloping frantically and furious snorting, you jump out of bed without a second thought. You know with absolute certainty that something genuinely threatening is happening out there in the pens. That powerful alarm bray is never an annoying false alarm. It is the unmistakable sound of your heavy tactical intervention team springing into direct action. That absolute reliability allows you to truly rest, knowing you will only be woken up when the critical situation actually requires your armed presence or immediate backup. Although realistically, in the vast majority of cases, by the time you manage to get dressed, grab your flashlight, and run out to the pasture, the donkey will have already solved the whole problem swiftly, and the predator will either be fleeing back into the woods with severe injuries or simply lying lifeless on the pasture ground. Despite detailing all these unbeatable operational benefits, professional honesty compels us to say that the donkey, just like any other agricultural management tool on a farm, has its natural biological limitations, and is definitely not a magical, absolute solution for every single problem we face. The donkey is the undisputed, fierce, and relentless ground champion against cunning foxes, persistent coyotes, and aggressive stray dogs, but we must understand that its effectiveness is practically zero against stealthy aerial predators. A donkey, no matter how strong, cannot stop a bold eagle, a night owl, or a swift hawk from snatching a helpless chick or a small quail right out of the air. It's also not the best technical option if you manage excessively tiny pens or tightly confined spaces, where its massive size, heavy weight, and tremendous strength could accidentally crush or trample the most fragile newborn lambs or kids in your flock if the animal gets spooked by thunder or abruptly shifts into its frantic territorial combat mode. This is exactly why, on the most professional, efficient, and highly profitable modern farms, the perimeter security protocol is never based on just one animal or a single method, but on the perfect synergy of the entire defense ecosystem. We return to the important initial concept of layered security. Imagine an ideal farm where the nervous guinea fowl work tirelessly as the anti-aircraft radar and the extreme visual frontline for the furthest outer perimeter, alerting you to diving hawks and hidden snakes. In a second, closer concentric circle of defense, fiercely protecting the specific breeding areas for laying hens, the wooden coops, and the vital water sources, you have your squad of geese, enforcing their strict territorial law by harassing small, creeping intruders. And finally, out in the wide-open pastures, where your heaviest financial capital, your valuable purebred goats and prize sheep, graze out in the open under the stars, you have your massive biological war tank, the livestock guardian donkey. It will be tirelessly patrolling the invisible border, fully prepared to mercilessly crush any major threat that dares to challenge its absolute domain. That, in essence, is true upper-level mastery in comprehensive homestead management, thoroughly knowing the strengths and weaknesses of every animal species at your disposal and using them smartly to your advantage to completely bulletproof your financial investment and maximize your much-desired peace of mind. So to wrap things up, designing the security for your livestock is a strategic decision, just as vital as the nutrition or the genetics you choose for them. Guinea fowl will give you eyes everywhere and invaluable early warnings. Geese will provide that reckless bravery and a physical barrier against minor intruders in confined spaces. But if what you are looking for is massive deterrence, a loyal, hardy, cheap-to-keep protector capable of going face-to-face against the true nighttime nightmares of every rancher, the donkey rises, by far, as the perfect candidate and the undisputed champion of this comparison. Let's break that old myth of stubbornness and start seeing this noble animal for what it truly is, the absolute best life insurance policy your herd could ever have. The final decision, as always, will depend on the topography of your land, the type of livestock you raise, and the budget you're working with. Evaluate your needs, identify your local predators, and build your defense strategy accordingly. If this video has opened your eyes to the true value of the livestock guardian donkey, or if you have any personal experience with these incredible protectors, leave me a comment down below. Subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming management strategies, and share this information with other fellow farmers so they can stop losing money to nighttime attacks. To your success, fellow breeder. Until next time.